What do you want me to ask her? John said plainly. She's scared to talk to you. It's been wonderful having her here again. Don't misunderstand, but it seems like she's holding something back, like she's not herself. John said with an edge of mocking. That's not what I was going to say, but I think she might know something she hasn't told us yet. Maybe something that she hasn't felt comfortable sharing, and she might feel uncomfortable sharing it with me? Maybe. That feels morally ambiguous, John said wearily. From the dresser, the whirring noise started again. See, Theodore agrees with me, he said, gesturing toward the rabbit. Does it always do that? Clay reached for the rabbit's head, but before you could touch it, Theodore's jaw snapped open and the jaw and the head jerked in place. John startled and Clay took a step back. They both watched, transfixed, as the sound went on. Though the head did not move again, the sound it was making became a distorted murmur, louder and softer at times, almost mimicking words. Although John could not even begin to make them out. After a few minutes, the head fell silent again. I never seen it do that before, John said. Clay was bent over the dresser, his nose almost touching Theodore's as if he could see inside. I need to go soon, John said shortly. I don't want to be late, right? For this new open and honest relationship that I'm starting with her. He made brief, accusing eye contact with Clay and went briskly to the door. Don't you need to lock it? Clay asked as John brushed past him. It doesn't matter. It was still light up when John got to St. George, and when he looked at the dashboard clock, John saw that he was over an hour early. He parked in the restaurant lot anyway and got out, glad for the opportunity to walk around and burn some nervous energy. He had avoided St. George, the town where Charlie and Jessica had been in college. Jessica probably still is in college, he thought with a pang of guilt. I should know basic stuff like this. He walked past a few storefronts, heading in simultaneously for the movie theater he had been with Shirley the last time he was there. Maybe we can go see a movie. After the dinner interrogation, John stopped short on the sidewalk. The theater was gone. Instead, two gigantic clown faces grinned at him from the windows of a gloomy new restaurant. The faces were almost as large as the wide front door, painted on either side, and above them was a sign in red and yellow neon letters, Circus Baby's Pizza. The neon lights were on, glowing uselessly in the daylight. John stood motionless, feeling like his sneakers had fused to the parking lot. A group of kids rushed past him on their way in, and a teenager bumped into John, breaking him out of his daze. Just keep walking, John, he muttered to himself, turning to move away, but he stopped again after only a few steps. Just keep walking, he repeated in a sterner tone, and turned to face the restaurant diffidently. He approached the front door and pushed it. It opened into an empty vestibule, a waiting area, where smaller versions of the clowns out front smiled crazily from the walls, and the second door read "Welcome" in painted cursive letters. There was a familiar smell in the air, some peculiar combination of rubber, sweat, and cooking pizza. John opened the second door and a noise exploded. He blinked in the fluorescent lights, bewildered. Children were everywhere, screaming and laughing, and running across the floor, and the jingles and blips of arcade games sounded discordantly from around the room. There were play structures, something like a jungle gym to his left and a large ball pit to his right. There were two small girls who were throwing brightly colored balls at a third girl who was shouting something he could not make. There were tables set up at the center of the room, where he noticed 5 or 6 adults talking to one another. Occasionally, they took over their shoulders at the chaos surrounding them. At the stage in the back of the room, its red curtains closed. A chill went down his spine, and he looked around again with a terrible deja vu at the plain children and complacent parents. He started toward the stage, twice stopping just in time to avoid tripping over a game of tag. The curtains were brand new, the red velvet plush and gleaming in the light and trimmed with golden ropes and tassels. John slowed his pace as he got closer, the pit of his stomach tensing with an old familiar dread. The stage floor was about level with his waist, and he stopped beside it and glanced around, then carefully grasped the thick curtain and began to pull it back. "Excuse me, sir," a man's voice came from behind him, and John strained as he touched a hot stove. "Sorry," he said, turning to see a man wearing a yellow polo shirt and a tense expression. "Are you here with your children, sir?" he asked, raising his eyebrows. The shirt read Circus Baby's Pizza, and he was wearing a name tag that read Steve. "No, John paused. "Yes, several children. Birthday party, cousins. So many cousins. What can you do?" Steve was still looking at him with raised eyebrows. "I have to go meet someone somewhere else," John said. Steve gestured to the door.